Hello, you're watching Saints Live. I'm Kenzie, Benali.
And I'm Steve Forbes.
This is your Boxing Day fix of all things Southampton, where today we'll be previewing our final away match of 2020 with our two guests, Dean Hammond and Joe Prince-Wright. Let's welcome them in now to join the conversation. Guys, so great to see you. Joe, it's looking very festive where you are. Did you have a great Christmas?
I did, yeah, as best as we all can. So it was really nice to see family before lockdown arrived in Hampshire again. So really nice to have those few moments. So I hope everyone out there had a great Christmas too.
Yeah, of course, we certainly do. And Dean, how was your day?
Yeah, it was nice. I'm looking forward to the rest today. But I've got 3 children, so I was chasing them around all day. But no, it was good fun. Very, very different, but we're all healthy. So yeah, enjoyable Christmas.
A nice welcome break on Saints Live.
Indeed. What about you, Kenzie? Have a nice Christmas?
Really lovely, thank you. Yeah, nice full belly today though.
Yeah, oh, tell me about it. Right, let's dive straight into it, shall we, gentlemen? We've got Ralph giving us his team selection in less than 15 minutes' time. So let's talk about it. We know that Oriol Romeu is definitely out through suspension. Also, Danny Ings, Nathan Redmond and Yannick Vestergaard are all doubts. We'll come to both of you on this. Let's start with you first, Joe. If Nathan and Danny are out, what do you think the front four is going to be?
Well, you can kind of go multiple ways with this, but I think the way that Theo Walcott played, replacing Danny recently up front, that would be my partner for Che Adams. I think that would be a really good fit. And then you've got a few options, obviously, Moussa Djenepo, Stuart Armstrong, who can come in out wide. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a mix, but I'd say if Danny isn't available, then Theo up top. And then I'd love to see Armstrong and Djenepo, but Nathan Teller played well when he came off the bench against Man City recently as well. So the good thing is Saints have plenty of options, but no denying that Danny Ings and Redmond have been really important players in recent weeks.
Right there, Joe. There are options, and we have seen Theo move a bit further forward. Dean, do you think that's what Ralph's going to do today?
Yeah, I think so. I think if obviously Danny's injured, I think Theo Walcott will come into partner Che Adams. I think they work pretty well together. They were starting to form a bit of a partnership and having a good understanding. So I think that's the sensible decision. I think that works. And I think I agree with Joe. I think Armstrong and Djenepo will come in. I know the younger players got an opportunity up against Manchester City, and that was great to see. But I think from the start, away to Fulham on Boxing Day, the more experienced player, especially in Stuart Armstrong, he's had a bit of a rest, would be the welcome return, I think. And I like Che Adams and Theo Walcott playing together. They complement each other really, really well. And Theo's playing exceptionally well at the moment. So is Che. It's unfortunate Danny potentially could be injured, but there's enough cover within the squad, which is an improvement and a positive for Southampton at the moment.
Joe, as Steve mentioned, we know there's a question mark over Yannick Vestergaard as well. Defensively for the side, just how big a blow is that?
Yeah, that would be massive because he's quickly become a leader, a sort of talisman. And I think this whole new possession-based style that Saints have really, been brilliant at in recent months, and something no one really expected this season, it's pretty much been down to him. I mean, he calms things down, he gets his foot on the ball, can start building from the back. So I know Saints aren't a one-man team, but Yannick has been really key to that new possession-based style coming in, which allows Southampton to high press when they want to and when they pin teams in, but also gives them that plan B. And I think it's why we've seen them do so well early in the season. So yeah, it's amazing the journey he's had, really, when you think about how he was out of the team, but he's taken his chance really well. And if he is missing, it would be a massive blow, not just defensively, but in creating and building up chances. And we've definitely seen him striding forward from the back in recent weeks.
Talking about striding forward there, Joe. Dean, maybe a slightly strange one, but is it equally as bad to lose Yannick in an attacking sense rather than just defensively?
Yeah, 100%. Like Joe just touched on there, his possession stats must be really, really high and good. And we saw last week against Manchester City, them diagonal passes that he can do with both feet from an attacking sense. He starts, moves off. He can open defences up with them passes. He looks really comfortable possession, striding through the pitch. And from set pieces as well. He's such a big guy, and he's such a physical presence. when defenders have to mark him in the opposition box, it's difficult. He can either be a distraction for other players to get an opportunity, or he seems to be able to be getting on them superb deliveries by James Ward-Prowse. So he will be a miss in that department as well. I agree with Joe. He's been excellent this season. He's really, really improved. He's a massive part of the team. So again, hopefully he can be fit today, because he is an integral part of how Southampton have been able to improve their possession stats and create more opportunities.
Now, Joe, we know just how busy this festive period is. There's football matches coming thick and fast. With another game coming up on Tuesday, would you prefer Ralph to be cautious with the injured players? Or given that today is perhaps an easier game on paper, would you like to see him kind of going for this one?
I think you have to play the players that are 100% fit, to play the way that Ralph wants to play, the high pressing, intensity, working hard. I think it's a bit too much of a risk to take with players that are 70, 75% fit. I would rather see squad players or players who haven't been playing regularly recently come into the team, put in a good 60, 65 minute shift in there. And then I think you can have, Danny, if he is available, or Nathan, players like that who have been struggling with injuries, to come in for the last 25, 30 minutes in a game like this. So, yeah, I don't know what Dean thinks about that, but my personal preference is sort of some of the bigger teams in the league can maybe get away with having players that are at 75% capability because they have incredible quality. And I think Southampton, they're obviously based on having the whole unit and the whole structure of the team work as one. And as soon as you start having 2 or 3 players who aren't fully fit in that unit, it falls apart pretty quickly.
As we mentioned, Oriol Romeu is definitely out through suspension, and that opens the door for Ibrahima Diallo to start the game. Ralph hinted that he could be given his chance when he spoke about him in his press conference.
I think he's very professional. He is a little bit calmer, but also aggressive, doesn't like to lose, is definitely a winner, and knows exactly what he wants to do. And I think to convince him to come here was not so easy, because he really asked questions. I must say that I haven't got so often as a manager. When you sign a new player, he really wanted to know what is about us, and I think everything what we told him here was exactly how he found it. And the issue for him was only that the team was playing so well, and so it was difficult for him to step in the side. But he also understands this, although he's not happy about the situation. So now it comes the moment where he gets a chance to play. And I don't want to overload him with expectations, but he knows that is enough when he shows me what he can deliver, and when he does this is enough for me.
Dean, it must be a bit of a double-edged sword when the team's playing so well, but it means that you're kind of not getting a look in because of that. Were you ever in Diallo's situation where you were kind of waiting for perhaps an opportunity, an injury, for your chance to come into the side?
Yes, I did actually. When I first signed for Leicester, it was very, very difficult for me to get into the team. I had 3 or 4 players ahead of me, 2 central midfield players in Danny Drinkwater and Andy King, who were playing exceptionally well, and we were winning each week. Similar to like Southampton, we weren't just winning, we were performing well each week. So it's difficult as a player. You have to be patient, you have to train well, you have to take them opportunities when you do get a chance to come off the bench to make an impact, to show the players, the fans, the manager what you can do as a player. And I think that's the hardest thing. When you go to sign for a new club, you want to show everyone what you're about. You want to earn their trust. You want to earn their respect. And you can only really do that when you play games, when you play full matches. And obviously with Diallo coming in, he's new to the Premier League as well. So it's not just new to a team. The Premier League is different to any other league in the world. So it's going to be a challenge for him. I think he's a very, very good player. Southampton have got a good history of signing good players. The little bits we've seen of him, the little clips we've seen of him, he's been very, very good. So I'm excited to see him play. But it is difficult. When you sign for a new club and you don't get that opportunity straight away, it kind of festers away at you a bit and you can get frustrated. But I think that's a sign of a good player, because you just want to play. You're desperate to play, and you're desperate to show the players and the club why they've spent so much money on you.
Yeah, well, if Diallo does start, he's got some pretty big shoes to fill. Joe, what have you made of Oriol's season to date, and what would Diallo actually have to do if he wanted to cement a place in the team?
Romeu, I can't speak highly enough of him this season. He's been excellent so far, and I love how calm he is on the ball. I mean, that maybe wasn't always his, main positive from him when he was in the team. You know how good he is defensively. He snaps into tackles. He organises. You know you're going to get that from him week in, week out. But it's been a great surprise to see how he's taken his game to the next level, because he's coming, towards the end of his career, you'd say. But it's great to see that he has improved while he's been at Southampton. He now, along with Vestergaard and Ward-Prowse, those players you can see have really kicked their game on, and this possession-based style we're talking about, he's been a key component in there. I think Saints fans maybe have their hearts in the mouth slightly when they're watching Romeu at times. He keeps hold of the ball just in front of the back four, waits for the tackle to come in, and then distributes it, and that really does help Southampton's spring attacks. So I think that he's been excellent, and now it's all about Diallo. He needs to be steady. He needs to just calm things down. I think what we have seen from some of the glimpses, he's had a few rash challenges and maybe given the ball away, but that's difficult because he's come on late in games with teams pushing forward at Southampton. So it's tough to come into those situations as a sub late in the game and get to the flow and rhythm of it. So from what we've seen of him so far, it really has been a little bit hit and miss. So this is a big opportunity for him. And really looking forward to seeing him snapping into tackles just like Romeu did, but also keeping hold of the ball as well.
And of course, if Diallo does come into the side, it's going to be a little bit different for James Ward-Prowse. Him and Oriol Romeu have really struck up a great partnership in central midfield. Dean, how difficult is it to kind of play with someone new alongside you when you have developed that relationship with someone in that position? And how did you kind of cope with that in your career?
Well, I don't think it's difficult. I think it's different because obviously at this level, both players are exceptional players. They're very good players. James Ward-Prowse especially is an intelligent footballer as well. So he understands the position very well now, but he has that responsibility of captain as well. So it will be different for him because when he's played with Ramiro, they'll know where each other are on the pitch. If one goes forward, one will hold. So James will just need to be a little bit more aware now. He'll have to kind of coach and talk Diallo through the game. And one thing that Diallo needs to do today is he's going to want to impress. So to impress, it's not trying too hard, just do the basics very, very well. Not try and do anything different, do what the club have brought him in to do. I'm sure James can help him with that. And they've got all the attributes to form a good partnership. They're both excellent players. And I'm looking forward to watching Diallo play. But yeah, he has got big shoes to fill. But it'd be interesting to see. But no, James has been really good when he's had the captain's armband, when he's been captain of the football club. He's taken that responsibility on really, really well. So having a new partner in the central midfield, I'm sure he'll adapt to that and he'll do it very well.
Yeah, it will be unfortunate, obviously, if players like Yannick and Nathan and Ings miss out. But Joe, will there be other players who will be rubbing their hands together at a chance to maybe have a run out, players we maybe haven't seen at all, like Salisu, or much this season, like Shane Long?
Absolutely. I think it's a perfect opportunity. Busy time of the year. Like I said previously, I'd rather have players who are fully fit to come into the team and prove themselves and take the opportunity. Yeah, and I think every Southampton fan out there is really desperate to see Salisu come in. And, it's been a long time since he was signed in the summer, so there's a lot of expectation on him there. But I think, like Dean said, with Ward-Prowse and some mainstays in the team, if someone like Diallo is coming in, they just need to feed off the experience of the players around them, settle themselves in nicely, and just think, what does the player do that I'm replacing? How can I be as seamlessly as possible, come into that team and do exactly the same job? And we've heard Ralph say it recently. Players, he has two players for every position right now, and that's great. And I did speak to Ralph recently, and I noticed when I was at the Manchester City game, when the players are coming off the pitch, Shea Adams was sat in front of me, or the players on the bench, they were talking about, I should have done this, maybe we should make this run, maybe we should do that. And Ralph said he loves that. He loves to have intelligent players, and that's where Southampton could plug some of the gaps and push themselves further up the table. So I think now this is a great opportunity, even for Teller or Dan and Lunderloo as well, to get some minutes. So Saints have options now, which is great, and I don't think we've always been able to say that over the last few seasons.
Well, they certainly do, and we can bring you the Southampton team news now. It is on your screens. As you can see, we knew Ralph would be forced to make a number of changes to take on Scott Parker's men today. Jack Stephens, as you can see, comes into the side to replace Yannick Vestergaard. With the suspended Oriol Romeu, Ibrahima Diallo is handed his first start for the Saints, and with the absence of Danny Ings, Shane Long comes into the side. So let's just run through that team in full. In goal, Alex McCarthy. Things, as we've just said, are looking slightly different at the back for the Saints. Jack Stephens steps in for Yannick Vestergaard, and he'll be alongside Jan Bednarek in that central role, with Carl Walker-Peters and Ryan Bertrand either side of them. In midfield, James Ward-Prowse will be partnered by Ibrahima Diallo, as expected. Out wide is Theo Walcott and Stuart Armstrong, and completing the starting lineup is the attacking partnership of Shane Long and Shay Adams. The Southampton substitutes then are as follows: Fraser Forster, Mohamed Salisu, Jan Valery, Jake Vokins, Will Smallbone, Musa Gineppo, Nathan Teller, Michael Obafemi and Dan Lindeloo. So, Joe, let's come to you on this one first. I suppose the biggest surprise from all of that is the fact that Shane Long starts today.
Yeah, I think obviously he came on against Manchester United and, didn't quite go his way, and other players have got the opportunity there. But, I think Musa Gineppo as well has been maybe struggling a little bit for confidence. He's had a few starts recently to show what he can do. Hasn't quite worked out for him. So, I think Shane is probably his chance again. I was maybe a little bit surprised not to see Teller start, because I thought he did pretty well against Manchester City last time out. But, yeah, Shane's experience, especially with a few changes in the team, maybe that's what Ralph's thinking there, to bring the experience in there. And obviously, if you look at the bench, there's a lot of youngsters. I think there's 6 academy graduates there among the 9 substitutes. So there's a lot of good, exciting young players on the bench. But Shane's experience, we have to remember how good he was early in 2020 and at the latter stages of 2019 with that partnership with Danny Ings then. So hopefully he can get back to that purple patch. But slightly surprised by seeing Shane Long start. So I'm not quite sure what to expect from that.
And Dean, Joe nodded to it earlier on, but actually I think the fact that we're seeing Shane start, which perhaps is a bit of a surprise given that Nathan Teller was impressive the last time out, does that just prove that actually Southampton's squad depth is much better than perhaps people give them credit for?
I think so. Joe mentioned it. The manager's pleased with the squad. He feels as though he's got 2 players for every position, which is what you need. And Shane coming in, I think it's great for Shane to come back in. I think it's great to see Jack Stephens back in, because when he got left out of the team, he didn't do a lot wrong. And the partnership of the 2 centre-halves has been fantastic. So he's not been able to do anything to get back in. And I think Shane's been brought in because Theo Walcott has played so well, or in the last couple of games, wide. And the manager's just thinking, he's performing so well, I don't want to change his position. He's doing exactly what I need from my wide players. He's a threat. He's creating opportunities. He's scoring goals. He looks fit. He looks strong. He looks hungry. So he doesn't want to lose that balance. I'm like Stuart Armstrong coming back in. I think he's brilliant for Southampton. I think he gives them something different as a wide player. He that extra creativity, a bit like Adam Lallana. He can find that final pass, that final cross, takes responsibility on the ball, very, very comfortable in possession. And I hope Shane performs very well, because he's been patient. And it's difficult when you get older as a professional, when you sit on the bench and you want to play games, but you have to kind of understand your position within the squad now. So to get a start will be great for him. And he's a brilliant player, and I'm sure he'll help Shay Adams continue to develop as a striker.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, we're inviting everyone watching Saints live at home to get involved with the conversation. Tell us what you make of Ralph's starting 11 today. Already so many of you getting in touch with us here and watching from all over the world, actually. Matthew Barnes, hello to you. He's in Wales today. Thanks for your company. Linus has left us a comment on YouTube. Hello from Sweden. Ron, good afternoon. He says, watching from Costa Blanca, Spain, and he's going for a 2-1 win to the Saints this afternoon. Kathy's on Facebook. She says, go Saints from Yellow Springs, Ohio. And Frank's also left us a comment. He's watching from Malaysia. Thank you so much for your company. And as I said, do make sure that you're getting in touch throughout the show to tell us what you think the score will be today, and also what you make of that starting 11.
All right, so for our next discussion topic, we're going to rewind the clocks back to 2014, where the Saints beat Fulham 3-0 at Craven Cottage.
As Saints in their all-red strip, their home kit this afternoon, huddle away to my left. Fulham in their white shirts and black shorts. Crucial movement from Byrne and Hangeland. Holtby's left boot right into the heart of the box, and Boruc makes a flying save to his right. Fulham can come again from the left. Holtby looks up, low ball to the edge of the D, flicked on by Parker, and the shot from Ben, brilliantly saved by Boruc down to his left. Difficult one for the keeper, did well, and Saints clear.
Great piece of play that from Fulham.
And they're coming again. Ben's found some space in the penalty area, right-hand side, and Boruc parries once more. Lambert can turn and face and find Lallana in the edge of the penalty area. Hangeland with him, great shot from Lallana, and a goal from Adam Lallana to give Southampton the lead at Craven Cottage. Lallana celebrates his second goal in the week. Ships it square to Klein, down the right wing for Stephen Davis, looking for Klein's run, and Klein bursts towards the penalty area, low ball in, dummy by Rodriguez, and a 100th league goal for Southampton for Ricky Lambert. First time shot, right-footed. Stephen Naismith with the goal as Fulham give it away, and Ricky Lambert looks like he was trying to do a casual clearance, but it was a brilliant ball. 50 yards for Rodriguez into the penalty area on the left, curls it and scores a fantastic goal. What a wonderful strike from Jay Rodriguez. Again, Lambert the provider. Lambert applauded by Schneidlin and Cork. The fans applaud Jay Rodriguez. But everyone got on with it. Holtby didn't moan. Seconds to go. And Mike Jones says that's enough. Time to put Fulham out of their misery. Southampton had their fourth away win of the Premier League season.
Well, before we invite Dean and Joe's thoughts on that game, we would just like to apologise for perhaps a bit of the noise that you're hearing at the moment. We are, of course, here at St Mary's and the groundsmen are hard at work for the match here on Tuesday, so apologies if it's a little bit loud, but it's great to be back, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah.
But let's look back on that game that we have just showed you the highlights from. Now, Dean, that front three of Lambert, Lallana and Rodriguez really was something special, wasn't it? And we've been reminded of that just seeing them in action there. Do you think that the secret to their success was that they all had such different qualities?
I think it was. I think it's the perfect front three, really. Like you said, they had really exceptional qualities. Really, all of them were brilliant players, but very different as well. You think, you've got the creativity, the trickery of Adam Lallana. Very good in tight spaces. It can use both feet. Ricky, we've mentioned many a time that can either play as a target man, can drop into the number 10 role and assist, or is a threat in a goal. You saw that with his calm finish for the second goal. And Jay was just one of those where you loved him to get isolated with players one-on-one because he's quick, he was strong, he was direct. But if you backed off for him, he could score a superb goal from outside the box, as we saw against Fulham. So, they were a really dangerous front three, had loads of energy, loads of pace, and they complemented each other. And their movement was really good as well. Like I've mentioned before, intelligent players and intelligent players playing together. If one moved into a different position, they would come into a separate hole. They'd be able to move the back four around, and then they'd be able to exploit their positions with their pace, with their aggressive runs. So, yeah, it's been very difficult to play against. And, three excellent players. And I think it was around that time or that season they all got called up for England at the same time as well. So it just shows how well they were playing together.
Yeah, you mentioned intelligence there. The second goal, we saw great understanding between Jay Rodriguez and Ricky Lambert, with Jay leaving the ball for Ricky. Joe, just how good an attacking lineup was that at the time for Saints?
It was amazing. I'd go as far as saying that's one of the best attacking lineups the club has ever had in their history. It's right up there with, after that, Mane and Pella and Tadic sticks out to me, and obviously way before my time, but I've heard a lot of the great stories about the Saints teams in the 80s as well and how free-flowing they were, but I'd say that's right up there. I was living in London at the time of this game. I remember it. I met up with some Saints fans after the game near Craven Cottage, and they were over the moon. It maybe a few beers were flowing, so maybe that impacted their mood a little bit, but they were delighted with that performance, and the sky really seemed like the limit for Southampton at that point with those three players, as Dean said, leading the charge. Great creativity, understanding, and you just got the sense of that team. Everyone really enjoyed playing together, and when that is the case, usually good results follow. So yeah, as a Saints fan, loved watching those three up top, and they all just gave you something a little bit different, and that meshed perfectly.
Yeah, they really were just such a joy to watch, weren't they? Now, Adam Blackmore at BBC Radio Solent has actually said that Southampton third goal is one of his all-time favourites, all because of Ricky Lambert's just vision and being able to find Jay Rodriguez there. Dean, just how good a pass was that? And is that just another example of the many that we already have of Ricky's all-round game?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can't speak highly enough of Ricky. And the one thing that stands out for me, it would have been 2-0 at the time. I think that Jay would have made it 3-0. And it was just Ricky's calmness. You know, they're 2-0 up, Fulham are attacking, and he's just composed on the ball, where most players on the edge of their own box would have just cleared the ball, just get it out of the dangerous area. He's been able to be aware of Jay is. Jay's made a really, really intelligent run into space, and he's just picked him out. And the best bit about the pass is the weight of the pass, and the fact that Jay doesn't have to change his stride. He runs onto the ball kind of curls into his stride, and then he takes it and he's one-on-one with the defender. So, you know, Ricky was excellent at that. Ricky was very brave in possession. He would always try things. He would try to be creative. Now, it wouldn't always work, but that's what made him a special player. And that was an example of his passing ability, is one of his attributes. He had so many attributes. That's what made him a good player. Like I said, his calm finish for the second goal, where Jay actually assisted him because he dummied the ball, he overed the ball because of his awareness of Ricky, and Ricky's just repaid the favour. So, no, a great pass, and Ricky had so much power in his feet as well. He could just pick that pass with ease. So, a lovely, calm, pinpoint pass from Ricky, and that just made him such a good player.
Yeah, well, that game wasn't long before Jay Rodriguez's injury. Joe, how frustrating would that have been for him at the time, and what have you made of his career since then?
Yeah, I mean, it's so unlucky and just really disappointing. I think the timing of that injury was so unfortunate, because Roy Hodgson said since he would have been on the plane to Brazil going to the World Cup. I think he'll look back and see it as a key moment, not just of his career, but as a life as well. I think that's really a life-changing injury. But, you know, it's a huge testament to him that he's still playing in the Premier League, scoring goals for Burnley. Obviously, he did well at West Brom as well when he got his move there. So it shows a lot about his character, because after that injury, there were a few others that arrived. But he's done really well to be a Premier League player right now. And you've seen from his character in recent interviews that he's a really likable guy, very laid back, very focused as well at the same time. So I think all Saints fans wished him well when he did leave the club, and are delighted to see that he's still playing at the top level. But I think there's a sort of tinge of what might have been. You know, I'm thinking about him now. If he was still at the club all these years later, he may have been a perfect player for Ralph Hasenhüttl with the explosive pace, and, you know, maybe he just lost a little bit of that. But I still think he shows that in little spells for Burnley. So, yeah, I think he'll always be welcome back at Southampton. But it was a shame when you look back at it, that at the very height of his career, a very unfortunate injury popped up. But he's done great to be back in the Premier League for the last few seasons.
Well, we have a comment here from Matthew Coates. He's thinking Saints will emulate that result at Craven Cottage. He's going for another 3-0 win to the Saints today. He's thinking Long will bag 2 and Shea to get the 3rd. Let's take a look at some of the other comments you guys have been sending in. Mark Carter on YouTube has said it's a good, strong team. Would have liked to have seen Salisu instead of Stevens. We've got a comment here on YouTube. Thanks for this one. I'd have preferred Gineppo for Armstrong, or Bafemi instead of Long. Mark Tilbury says, I'm looking out the window in Fremantle and it's gloomy here. Is Kenzie importing the sun? It's pretty gloomy here as well, but I'll do my best to send some sunshine your way, Mark. We've got a comment here from Spencer. He's going for a 2-0 win today. Shulgi says he's going for a 3-1 win for the Saints this afternoon. And Tom has also left us a comment. Thanks for this one. He says, hey Kenzie and gang, happy Boxing Day from Barcelona. Wow. Where I'm wishing for a 2-0 Saints win. Shea and Theo to score. Well, I imagine it's probably a bit warmer where you are, but I quite like the sound of that result, actually. That sounds good, doesn't it?
Definitely. Right, let's have a look at today's game in a bit more detail. Fulham have picked up 3 draws in a row, including quite an impressive one against Liverpool. Dean, you said you're a fan of Scott Parker. He won't be on the touchline today as after a family member tested positive for COVID. But what kind of problems do you think that Fulham will put up against Southampton today?
Well, I think if you look back at their last 5 results, I think they went away to Leicester and won, and then lost to Man City and then drawn the last 3 games. So what they've found is they're probably just starting to understand the Premier League, probably understand their position. Defensively, they look better. I think they've changed the shape and gone to a 3-4 sort of 2-1. So the 2 number 10s in their formation cause problems. I think Bobby Reid has been excellent for them. He's scored a few goals lately, and Loftus-Cheek is a good player. So they'll be dangerous in the fact that they understand their season. They know they're in a relegation battle. They know their home form needs to be better. They know they need to score goals. They look more resilient. They're playing with more tempo. They're playing with more confidence because they're picking up results. So it'll be a test today because similar to when I was probably at Leicester when we were struggling in the Premier League, you almost get to this point in the season where you know you need to win games. There's no other option. It's not like, well, we'll pick a point up here, we'll do okay. You need to start winning your home games. So they'll be dangerous for Southampton today, just because they're starting to understand, find their feet in the Premier League and just becoming more confident as a team and as individual players at this level.
Well, Joe, one player who is, of course, not going to be featuring for Fulham today is Mario Lemina. Of course, he can't play against his parent club. We saw glimpses of his quality at Southampton. But why do you think it never actually really seemed to click into place for him?
Yeah, it's a strange one because I remember going and working at the Champions League final in Cardiff in 2017. He came on for Juve against Real Madrid. His star was rising. I just think I've got a sense from him that he's never quite been able to adapt to the physical nature of the Premier League, the more defensive side of the game. I think on the ball, he shows great skill and great quality, but he needs that warrior, someone dependable alongside him in midfield. And he seems to me like a bit of a luxury player, which, you know, he's been in and out of the team for Fulham, but he's kind of got a lot more help around him. And I think with Southampton, never seemed to fit into Ralph's style of play. Clearly he has the talent, but I'm not sure if he could ever really slot into Ralph's system right now. But yeah, if you can give him the ball and create, he's a really good player. And I've watched Fulham a lot this season at Craven Cottage, and they do play really attractive football. Like Dean mentioned, they've gone to a slightly more pragmatic, 3 central defenders, almost a back 5 at times. And that seems to maybe suit Lemina slightly better. He's got more players around him defensively, so he can take risks on the ball. He can drop his shoulder and spray it forward and wide where, Reid is out there and Cavallero and Lookman and others. So they have weapons that if they get the ball to Lemina, he can spray it wide. But yeah, it's kind of a head scratcher, right? On paper, when players move to clubs, you think, oh, that's a great transfer. But for whatever reason, it hasn't quite worked out at Southampton. But there is a really good player in there.
Now, we're sticking with you, Joe. Harrison Reid is the player to replace Lemina in that Fulham lineup. He's obviously a Southampton graduate. You'll have seen a fair bit of him. What kind of qualities will he bring to that Fulham side?
Yeah, I've got a few friends who are Fulham fans, and they absolutely love him. They were delighted when they signed him permanently, and he played a key role in their promotion back to the Premier League. His main quality is he's steady, he's safe, calm on the ball. And again, going back to something Dean said there, he'll help Fulham try and dictate the tempo of the game. If they're under pressure, you give the ball to Harrison Reid, he can find the sideways passes, backwards passes. And he snaps into tackles as well. He's not shy of getting his foot in and around the box and making tackles. And I'm sure he'll enjoy going up against his old buddy James Ward-Prowse today, and a lot of the Saints players that he knows really well. And I think Harrison Reid is one of those players, obviously broke through under Ronald Koeman and never quite got a foothold when different managers came in. He was always in and around the team. And I think Saints fans really wanted him to break through. It just never quite happened. But really good player, dictates tempo. And I'm excited to now see if he can kick on in the Premier League, but after today, of course.
Of course, yeah, we don't want to see anything from him this afternoon. Well, for the final time on our pre-match show, let's take a look at what's being said on social media. We have a comment here from Chubaba on YouTube. I love some of these YouTube names, they're brilliant. They say, happy Boxing Day from Helsinki. Now going for a 2-0 win for the Saints this afternoon. Mateos, hello to you. He's tuning in all the way from Tanzania. We have a comment here from Mark on Facebook. He's also going for a 2-0 win to the Saints. A nice clean sheet would be a lovely little Boxing Day present, wouldn't it? And Andrew's got in touch as well. He says, Armstrong's the key player for me today in the way he swiftly turns defence into attack. So the general consensus is that the Saints fans are feeling hugely positive about taking on Fulham today at Craven Cottage.
think that's the loudest lawnmower I've ever heard in my life.
It's very loud, isn't it? Yeah,
Industrial
apologies
grade
if
lawn
you're
mowing.
struggling to hear us here.
Dean, Southampton have only lost once this season to a team in the bottom half of the Premier League table, which was Crystal Palace on the opening day. We tend to do pretty well against teams that are struggling. Do you think that's because we can control the game better now?
I think it just shows the development and the progress of the team in terms of the lower half of the Premier League. Southampton have just moved above that level now, and I think that comes down to the intensity that Southampton play out, the structure and the formation they play out. So when they press the ball against the lower teams, they will make more mistakes. So Southampton will create more opportunities, and when they create them opportunities, Southampton just have better players. The one thing that's very impressive about Southampton is they're a very, very fit team, a powerful team, and they're good in possession now. So when you're playing against the lower half of the Premier League teams, when their confidence is not so high, you can control the possession of the ball, you can control the tempo, you can control the intensity, and I think that just plays into Southampton's hands. So against the lower teams, they're just creating more opportunities. The opposition are getting less opportunities, and Southampton are just the better team now. And I think that just comes from the confidence of winning games at this level, that it just grows you as a personality, it grows you as a player, that when you go into games against the lower teams in the table, against potentially lesser players that are not as good as the higher players in the top four, you just believe that you're at that level, you believe you're going to win. And I think Southampton are in that moment now. They're in that position where they're very, very confident against the lower teams, thinking, well, if you score one, we'll score two because we're better than you. So that's a brilliant position to be in.
Yeah, they certainly are a team playing with a lot of confidence at the moment. Now, Joe, we've got a stat here. This season, only Liverpool have scored more first-half goals than Southampton, whilst Fulham haven't won a match where they've conceded first, which obviously suggests that they do struggle when they go behind. So do you think that Southampton just need to fly out of the blocks today and exploit that and get off to a quick start?
Yeah, I think absolutely. There's a chance here, for Saints to, after not scoring against Man City, I think the attacking players in particular will want to put that right from the start. As I mentioned, I have watched Fulham quite a lot this season in person, and I was at the game when they drew 1-1 with Liverpool. They started really well in that game. Could have been 2 or 3-0 up early. So I think they've addressed some of those slow starts, Fulham, and they kind of, the confidence is growing. But I do think that it's a little bit fragile still. And then the Saints came flying out the traps and scored a couple early on. I still think it's quite early in the development of this team because Scott Parker, it was tough. They got promoted via the playoffs, didn't have as long as everyone else to bring in transfers and create their squad. So now they're just getting up to speed. I feel like this is a true reflection of where Fulham is at the last couple of weeks. But I think the Saints, they won't be surprised by Fulham starting quickly today and trying to get that early goal so their confidence grows. But in that game, like I referenced, Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp were very surprised with the way that Fulham set up because they were quite cavalier and attack-minded, love to get on the ball. But I think now they're more defensive. So it will be interesting to see how this game starts. I think the first 10, 15 minutes is so key in this match. And as anyone who follows Saints closely knows, if we don't score early, then it does become a little bit more problematic later in the game to create those chances when you're working so hard and pressing so high for so much of the match.
Even after today, we've got some tricky matches coming up against West Ham and Liverpool. How important is it to get a result today then?
I think it's always important to get a result, and the manager would have identified this as a game as a potential 3 points, as a potential win. The fixtures come in next and not important at the moment. The most important thing is the Fulham game, and we've drawn against Arsenal, which was a good performance. We've lost against Man City, which was a good performance. I think you continue that theme of putting good performance in, you will get the results. And like Joe said, I think Fulham are still fragile. I think they're a developing team and they're an improving team, but they're there for, not there for the taking. But Southampton, if they play their best, I know there's some changes today, and they play on the front foot, if they play with that high energy, then they'll win the game. But they need to convert some of them chances that they potentially didn't take against Man City last time out. So that's really important. But if they continue the theme of how they've played all season, I think they'll be too strong for Fulham today. But yeah, it's a result and a fixture that the manager would have looked at and thought, yeah, it's 3 points a day to add to that tally that's ever increasing at the moment.
Okay, so Dean, you think Southampton will just be too strong for Fulham, but what do you think the score will be this afternoon?
Sorry, Kenzie, I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, it's not your fault, Dean. We've got all sorts going on here with the groundsman. What do you think the score is going to be today then?
Well, like I just said, I think Southampton will have too much for Fulham. I think it will be a tight encounter, like Joe mentioned at the beginning. Both teams will want to start on the front foot and put some authority in the game, especially Fulham as a home team. But I think Southampton will just have too much for Fulham, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 Southampton win.
Okay, so Dean's going for a Southampton win. Joe, which way do you see this one going?
I'm going to go with exactly the same scoreline as Dean. I just think that Saints just have that extra bit of quality in the attacking areas, even with Danny Ings and Nathan Redmond being out. It shows the squad's stronger now. And yeah, if they want to have a really good season, at least finish in the top 10, you have to beat these teams that are in the lower end of the table. And then the games against the bigger teams are kind of free hits. But I think Saints have just got enough to get past Fulham today.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much, chaps. Southampton will be looking to march on up the Premier League table with 3 points against Fulham away at Craven Cottage. Do join us after the game, where we'll all be back, hopefully minus a lawnmower, for the final whistle. See you then.